Hello, Sierra. Let's look at your 2.03 math module program. Okay, here's your template you turned in. Create a word problem that involves calculating the volume of surface area of a three-dimensional object. You can choose a cube, a sphere, a cylinder, and cone. And here's all the formulas. Print the description of the word problem for the user. Ask the user to enter the necessary information. Use 3.14 for pi if you need it, because not all of them use pi, but most of them do. And write the pseudocode. Print the results. Insert your pseudocode. Okay, have the user. All right, this is good. We got the user part. Enter information needed to solve the volume of a cylinder. Okay, so we're looking at pi r squared times height, and surface area is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi radius times height. Output, have the program produce the correct answer for the information given. Okay, so here, let's copy this. There's your program. See, what's the purpose? To get the volume radius of a sphere. Wait, our pseudocode said we were doing a cylinder. And this says a sphere. How to be useful in the real world. It's calculating. The square root command wouldn't work no matter what I did, so I changed it to power. Well, looking at the formulas, the only ones that uses square root is the cone, and you never were doing the cone because cone's got square root down here in this calculation, but I don't know if you're doing sphere or cylinder, but neither one of those use square root. So I don't know what you were doing there, but I'm glad you changed it because you didn't need square root if you're doing a sphere or a cylinder. Not sure what you do differently or not. All right, well, let's paste this into a Python window and see what happens here. Okay, so we got it in here. I'll take a little space just so we can see more of it on the screen at one time while we're looking at the program. Let's run it. Enter a number here. Okay, what number am I entering? Well, it says before the input statements, our version of Python does not print this to the screen. There are other versions. I know this was supposed to print to the screen first. So it says Sarah wants to get a cool ball for her dog, but the one she wants is too big. How big is the ball? Enter a number here. Is this the diameter, the radius? I don't know what this number would be, but I'll just enter a 10. I'll say the ball is a 10. Okay, and great. Another one. Okay, I'll say 15. Okay, now it says Sarah wants to get a cool ball for her dog, which is too big. How big is the ball? So I entered 10 and 15 because it just said enter a number. It didn't really say enter the radius or enter the diameter or enter the circumference. That's kind of lacking on your input statement because it wasn't really clear what the user was entering other than something about a ball. Thanks. Now that she knows the radius of the, okay, so I was entering the radius of the ball. Okay, so enter the radius of the ball here. Great. And then the other one would be great. The radius of another one, please. Then we can do that. The radius of another one, please. I'll capitalize that too. So that would be a better input statement so they understand what in the world you're supposed to be entering. It says, now we know the radius of the ball, 10, and the volume of the ball. Oh, wait, we were supposed to enter the volume on the second one? That's something we have to calculate. I'd have to calculate the volume. We can find out how small the ball should be. I don't know how we'd have, volume is supposed to be one of the things we're calculating, so I don't know how they would have to enter the volume. So I'm not sure. Is this supposed to be two different balls, or is this supposed to be the radius and the volume of one ball? So I'm not really sure. This is name error. Name S is not defined on line 18. So line 18's got an error. After some quick calculations, Sarah found out the ball was string S. There's that S. It doesn't know what S is. Something squared and P. Oh, well, I'm guessing that one of these is wrong because both of these are the same, which means first it's going to say, okay, I have a variable called P, which I don't know what P is. That's really not very descriptive. That's not a good variable name. A good variable name for what is this? Is this the volume that I'm calculating? Is this the, I don't know. But you calculate it and then you immediately replaced it. You calculated it and then immediately replaced it with a different calculation. So this line wouldn't even need it. So I'm guessing that this was supposed to be S looking at your print statement. So I guess that was supposed to be S and the other was P, and I'm not sure what those are. So let's try this again. Inner radius 10. I'll put the 15 just because that's what I did the first time. After stroke calculations, she found out the ball was 100 squared. Okay, that'd be 10 squared. And 3375 cubed. So it took the first number I entered and squared it, and took the second number I entered it and cubed it. So I'm thinking, because the ball would only have one radius, because looking at the calculations that we're supposed to have, if it is a sphere, so this is what was wrong. This was wrong. Changed program, but did not update pseudocode. I'm guessing you started out with a cylinder, and you didn't update your pseudocode when you changed that. So anyway, sphere should be 4/3 times pi times the radius to the third power for the volume. And your program just calculates something to the third power and said that was the volume. No, just that was cubed. You didn't even really say. They said the volume was all 15. So there's a lot of confusion in here. I think you don't need two input statements, because if you're calculating what you need to for this ball, which is a sphere, you only need one radius, because you're only talking about one ball. One ball. So let's get rid of the second one. We don't need two of them because it's just confusing. Unless you're comparing two different balls, then you need to do double the calculations. You need two different surface area. Two different surface areas, two different volumes. But we only calculated that once. So she knows the radius of the ball and the volume of the ball. We didn't really calculate the volume of the ball yet. Let's just take out this statement. Now that she knows the radius of the ball, which is this number 1,
I know, right, Nixon?
we can find out how small the ball should be. As quick calculations found the ball was something squared and something cubed, but that's not the volume in the surface area. But let's change both of these to number 1, because we're just using one ball. So if we run the program and we say the ball is 10 radius, then it's 100 squared and 1,000 cubed, but we didn't ever calculate what we're supposed to calculate. We didn't calculate the volume. We didn't calculate the surface area. So we should really say this is the square and this is cubed, something, just so we know that that's the third power. And then we need to calculate volume equals, what's the formula? 4/3 times pi. And it said right here, use 3.14 for pi. 4/3 times pi times radius third. So volume is 4/3 times pi, 4 times the radius cubed, which we calculated, times the cubed value. So that would be the volume. Print the volume of the ball is plus string volume, and the surface area of the ball is, and we need to create a calculation called surf area. That's just what I'm going to name it there. So let's create another calculation, surf area. And what was that supposed to be? 4 times pi times the radius squared. So 4 times 3.14. I don't have to put the parentheses around 3.14, but it just kind of makes it easier to see. Times a square, because, not 8 squared, times square. There you go. 4 times pi times the squared, which was calculated up here. Now we could have just calculated right here. We could move this calculation to right here and not even need this line, but that's okay to calculate that ahead. I'm going to square it, and I'm going to cube it, and then I'm going to use that square and cube in my volume and surface area calculations. All right, let's run this. Radius of the ball is 10, just because it's easy to calculate. Oh, S is not defined. Where's that S in there? Oh, I got rid of S. Yeah, I found the ball was, I called that square, and I called this one cubed. So let's make sure we're using the right names in our print statements. Try it again. Okay, now she knows the radius of the ball, 10. We can find out how small the ball should be. After some quick calculations, she found the ball was 100 squared, 1,000 cubed. Oh, cannot concatenate. Did I? Oh, I left off the STR on surf area. Now let's try it again. Errors. The volume of the ball is 4,186.6666, and the surface area is 1,256. Okay. Now you can buy the same ball for the right size on Amazon. So, but this is what we were supposed to do. We were supposed to calculate the volume and surface area. Calculate the volume and surface area. You just squared the radius and cubed the radius, which is only part of the calculation. So, we put the formulas right here so you wouldn't have to know. You don't have to know what the formula is for the volume of a sphere. I give it to you right here on the template. So there was some errors here. We ran into a few issues. For one thing, you had the P twice and not an S, so S was an error. You didn't calculate the volume and surface area. You were inputting two different things, and I'm not sure what that was. A user wouldn't know. It just says enter a number, enter another number, and we're like, what's this number supposed to be? Something about the ball, but it didn't say enter the radius. So a few issues here and there to work on just to get things a little clearer, easier to understand for the user. Overall, you had a lot of good stuff in there. I mean, you had inputs and you're working on the ball size and all that. You just didn't use the proper calculations, and you had a little bit of issues with repeating P twice instead of S, and use really good names for your variables. So when you're doing something with it later, oh, this was volume. That was the name of the variable because I calculated the volume, so I would know very much what that is, rather than volume was P. That didn't really help a lot when you're, if another person was reading your code, and maybe it's 100 lines long, we get down to line 88 and you printed P, they're like, well, what is P? What did we print? We'd have to go way back up and look through all the line to figure out where P was, to figure out what it is. But if it said print volume, which, oh, that was the volume calculation. That's why we use good variable names, just to help when you go back through reading the program to understand what each line is doing. It's a lot clearer that way. So, all right, I'll get this feedback to you. And if you got questions, let me know. But otherwise, we'll see you in class.